Welcome to Puller Pass, where I go through this week's Dokkan Fest and decide whether it is worth pulling, spending, buying, ticketing, etc. Here I'll be ranking the unit out of 10 based on kit design, team help, leader skill, the 200% they're on, and the possible EZA Help they could be getting during their celebration. Note that this could be a special case because Daima is coming up, so who knows if they'll be getting an LR, part 2, etc. But follow along in the comments and leave your rankings too. First off, we have them leading Namek Saga, Gifted Warriors, and Inhuman Deeds for 170%, Dragon Ball Seekers and Pure Saiyans for that remaining 30%. I'm gonna call this a, let's not be too generous because this is 2024 and we've got a lot of powerful DFEs, so I'm gonna call this a 5 out of 10 leader skill. If you're wondering why I'm so harsh, it's because the Namek Saga tag is functionally worthless. It'd be the same if I talked about Int Broly as the DFE for the Worldwide Download Celebration Part 2. That Broly's leader skill is terrible, mostly because Revenge does not have characters that he can use. It is a completely dead tag right now, and maybe it'll get better in a month. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it'll get better in a month, but it's not right now. And in the same case, Namek Saga is a dead tag. It is utterly and completely worthless, and the unfortunate part about this DFE in particular, this celebration in particular, even though it is a monthly, even though it could be this or that, the Daima celebration is probably coming. We're gonna get some news in about 6 days or something at the event, and if they say that the part 2 of this month is 2 Daima characters or something, this Vegeta is on an island, and I don't even know if EZAs will save him. We can move on to kit here, which I'm going to generously call a 6 out of 10. It is one of the most 2023 cases of Dokkan I've ever seen, with a stacking passive on his 12 key and just a myriad of conditions that are based around HP. It seems like HP is one of those conditions they wanted to leave in the past, but have since decided to pick back up for the Vegeta, and I think it is terrible. I think another problematic trait this Vegeta has is that he is a stacking character, as I mentioned, but it is one of those things that in 2024, every character that is extremely good right now is basically getting hit to build up, and then they reach like a sort of peak strength, or they are doing a few attacks and then they are obliterating the game. This guy wants to do a very old style of Dokkan, it seems. He wants to do a God Goku style where the fight goes long and then maybe he has guard and dodge and can do something by the end, but this is just way too slow in current year. This is too slow. It's not good enough. I'm gonna say that the only reason I'm giving him a 6 out of 10 is because the Rainbow Orb changing and the orb changing in general is powerful enough, given enough support on his team to warrant picking up. I mean, he is a new Dokkan Fest and he will do his job of orange changing and, you know, floating around the rotations if given that option. Unfortunately, red alert, this feels like the first form Frieza they released earlier this year, like a contender for that, where if he does not get help because Daima is coming, then they threw this guy out here to die. Here we have a list of characters that could help out his leader skill, and they are going to get another 5 out of 10. I know these characters are good. I picked the ones that are good in a vacuum. I didn't include ones that are just like maybes or sketchy. I tried to pick the ones with the least amount of lose conditions. But if you are running this team, if you're running a team comprised of these characters, and he does not get the necessary EZAs he needs in the next week and a half, like, I don't really know what they expect him to do, because this feels like a team without a place. For example, you could run Tech Vegeta, which you most likely will, you most likely have to, because it's his only other character I think here that he links okay with, maybe. You're probably running Int Evo Vegeta because he's a revive and he's just generally strong. You could run the Brolys who are strong, but you're not really looking to, I mean, maybe you're looking to use AGL Broly's domain, but I mean, how do you get him there on that team? Are you floating him? Maybe you could run Int Broly, but how are you getting his domain up? I guess you could. I'm less stringent on Int Broly's domain than a lot of people. I think you can still make it work with like a floating roster of characters. Just get one rotation, pop it, and then so on and so forth. But of course, the Super EZA Fist Frieza is coming, but again, you're looking at a Wicked Bloodlines character who has these specific links, and you're not going to be running them with, I mean, maybe you could run them with First Form Frieza. You could run like a First Form Frieza. I don't, it's just such a mismatch. It's a mismatch, and it's why these extreme unit Saiyans are so weird, because the best setups for them typically, unless you're Broly, is just running them as fake super units. It's why there was some confusion about it being a double Broly celebration earlier, is that it wasn't really because Broly's not hype, it's because so often it is the case with these Super Saiyan extreme units that they just end up being super units. Even if you can imagine a world where they run the perfect villain team. Thankfully Broly paid out and EZA had enough characters and released enough great characters to run his own team, but it's not like that a lot of the time. Next we move on to what 200%s they're on, which is a very important category because the new Gogeta EZA just released and he's on a billion teams that are great. The new Janemba EZA just released and he's on the main 3 villain teams that are great. This Vegeta, on the other hand, is on at most 2 functional teams right now, maybe 3 if you count First Form Frieza if this ends up taking off, but this is a pretty overt 5 out of 10. What teams are they on? Not enough for them to matter, and his own leader skill, as I said before, is just a little shaky. Last but not least, we arrive at possibly the most staggeringly bleak part of this, which is that there are 4 huge LRs that could EZA, and if the EZAs come, then I would actually argue that this is a 10 out of 10 opportunity. The issue is, this Vegeta is releasing in what is usually a pretty dead month for Dokkan. Daima is definitely coming in a few days. They're gonna release something that's like, hey, Daima's coming in a week. There is almost no way that they EZA the LRs from the worldwide download celebration, the Goku and Frieza, which means what really is the opportunity cost of keeping this character around? I can't give him a 10 out of 10 because if we're going purely off of potential, these are a 10 out of 10 opportunity to have great characters help his team. But will they give him those? I don't think so. As has been speculated by a lot of people in the community, we might be seeing Namek Saga for the 10th anniversary as maybe like a part 2 or something, which means that none of these EZAs really jump out at us as just being a filler month like selection pool, which means this would be like a 1 out of 10. There's nothing here for him. For anyone pulling on this banner, I hope I'm wrong. If you really love Vegeta, if you really love the Namek Saga, if you just, you know, thought the character looked cool and you want to use some 30 fireworks, like I hope I'm wrong. I hope like one of these characters EZAs that's impactful, because if they don't, this is a completely dead drop. The super EZAs and sub EZAs that we got, they're cool, but they don't really impact his team specifically like the Broly EZAs did, where they were just all focused on Broly. So looking at kit design, we had a 6. Looking at team help, we had a 5. Looking at leader skill, we had a 5. Looking at what 200%s they're on, we had a 5. And looking at EZA help, if I'm being really black pill about it, we had a 1. And let's just call this like the average of like a 4.5. I didn't do any math for that. Let's just say he's about a 4.5 out of 10 in total. Pretty definitively, I'm gonna have to call him a pass. Not because he's weak, not because he doesn't work, not because his numbers are bad, not because, you know, this or that, not because he's the worst character in the world or the worst character of the year. It's just the way he's being released feels like how we got the worldwide download celebration and no new hard events came out, and it just became obvious that they were sacking the year for Daima release and Sparking Zero. This character feels like he's being sacked for Daima and Sparking Zero. But with all that said, I've been lone. If you decide to pull on him, good luck. I hope anyone who is really in love with this Vegeta gets him fast. I hope you don't overspend the stones or anything. Remember, if you're free to play or low spending, do not pull for dupes. It's not worth it, and we all gonna make it. Subscribe to join the club, like if you like the video, and we out. Peace.